Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly.
Well, welcome back to the DCL podcast, your podcast to cruise a little smarter. I'm your host, Lake, and I'm joined by my co-host, Christy. Christy, how are you today?
I am well, Lake. Long time no see.
Oh my goodness, it has been a long time since we have sat down to record just a regular cruising episode.
It has been. And I'm very sorry because you weren't just with me last week when I went to Disneyland and had the most beautiful Run Disney weekend at Disneyland for their farewell race weekend for a while.
I know. I am so sad. I was hard FOMOing. This was the Disneyland race that I skipped that I FOMO'd the hardest too.
Yeah, it was good too. I feel like the announcers were great at leading before every race. The pre-race entertainment was incredible. It was great. The friends were incredible. The random people in the corral were incredible. It was just good. It was really, really good.
I love it. Well, I will be anxiously awaiting the return of Disneyland Run Disney races for sure. But we are not here to talk about Run Disney. We're here to talk about cruising.
Yes, we are.
And to talk about cruising, we would like to welcome our guest this week, Kelly. Kelly, how are you today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for filling out the form and agreeing to come on the show. Why don't we begin by telling us a little bit about your Disney and cruising background?
Sure. So I went to Disney World a few times growing up, a couple times as a small kid with cousins and aunts and uncles and all of that. And then a couple times in high school with music groups that I was a part of. My high school marching band actually marched in a parade at Magic Kingdom on Thanksgiving. So that was really cool. But the trip that really solidified me as a Disney adult was in 2020. My mom and I went down for Princess Week, Run Disney weekend. I ran the half and she got up super early to cheer me on, and we did all the parks, and it was an amazing trip. And then about a month later, the whole world shut down. So it just kind of lives in my memory as the last big trip before COVID. And then cruising background, similarly had a few different cruises on different cruise lines growing up. We did Holland America once, Carnival once, and Norwegian once. But then our first Disney cruise was November of 2022. We went on the Wish, and that was my parents, my brother, and my husband and me, and really solidified me as a Disney cruiser for life.
Well, why don't we jump into your sailing we are here to discuss? What sailing did you book and who sailed with you?
So we booked a 5-night Marvel Day at Sea cruise on the Dream. It was out of Fort Lauderdale. And I traveled with my husband, our daughter, who was 10 months old at the time, and my husband's 2 sisters.
And what led you to booking this sailing on the Dream specifically?
We were looking at cruises around that time. In all honesty, I wanted my daughter to do the baby race, so I needed her to be old enough to crawl. So we were looking in that time frame.
That's amazing, by the way.
Yeah, it was super fun. Yeah, so we were looking in this time frame. I think my sisters-in-law were actually the ones who wanted to do Marvel just as something unique. We're all sort of Marvel fans. We're not, big, huge Marvel people, but just as something different. And this was a good price, good time. It was before everyone was going on spring break, so it wasn't a super crowded sailing. And yeah, so we booked that.
Love it. Well, you are a frequent cruiser. What activities were you able to pre-book before we jump into getting on board?
Yeah, so we booked quite a few things, actually. So we booked a Palo Brunch for the 4 adults on our first day at sea. We booked the Remy Dessert Experience. They only had 1 spot available, so I took it. And we booked a mixology class for my 2 sisters-in-law. And then my husband and one of his sisters did a World of Old Fashioned drink tasting. And they have a sports simulator on the Dream, which I don't think you have to pre-book, but we did pre-book a half hour for my husband to try that. So for all of those things, we booked a few hours for my daughter in the nursery. And then my 2 sisters-in-law booked an excursion at Cozumel, which was one of our...
Love it. Well, let's move into the sailing. How did you get down to Fort Lauderdale, and what was that kind of pre-embarkation process like for you?
Yeah, we are from Ohio, so we had to fly. Yeah, and then we got a hotel nowhere near the port. So that was kind of our biggest mistake, is not realizing how big and spread out Fort Lauderdale could be. But we really just relaxed at the hotel the day before embarkation. Traveling with an infant it's a lot. So we all needed some time to rest before we got on the ship.
Did you stay near like an airport hotel or?
It wasn't near yeah, I think it was in the city. It wasn't anywhere near the airport or the port. It was kind of out there.
How did you get to the port on embarkation day?
We took Ubers. My husband and daughter and I had an earlier embarkation time because we had been on sailings before. So we took an Uber separately, and then my two sisters-in-law followed a few hours later.
Did you just bring a car seat?
We did, yeah. So we were lucky enough to be able to, we were flying Southwest and they still had, unassigned seating. So we were able to bring the car seat on the flight. But yeah, we had to install the car seat in several Ubers on this trip, which was exhausting.
Well, then we get to the port and it is time to embark. What was your embarkation process like coming out of Fort Lauderdale?
It was excellent. Probably the best embarkation experience we've had. We've sailed out of Port Canaveral and New Orleans as well. And I think this was the quickest we've ever gotten on board. By the time we got there, we were able to go right through security. By the time we finished checking in, they were on boarding group 4 and we were boarding group 6. So I think we maybe waited 5 minutes in the port before we could board.
Awesome. So you've been on the Wish, new and shiny. You've been on the Magic, the OG, and now you're going right in the middle with the Dream. What was it like embarking onto the Dream for the first time?
It's gorgeous. I mean, I've never found a ship I haven't found to be beautiful, but that atrium it's beautiful. Really nice to get on board. And yeah, a little hectic because we were, again, trying to figure out how to get on with a baby. It was our first time with a stroller and dealing with all of that and trying to figure out how, we're big stair people on cruises, so we can't really climb stairs to get everywhere when we have a stroller. So really trying to navigate all of that. But it's beautiful. It's a wonderful ship.
Love it. Well, you get on board. What is your first destination on embarkation day?
Well, we intended our first place to be the nursery to get our baby registered, but they actually weren't open when they opened at 12:30 and we were just on a little too early. So we went to Cabanas. Everybody goes straight to Cabanas. We're typically pool deck people, but we decided to do Cabanas just to, have a little seating area.
And how long did you have to wait for the rest of your family to get on board?
They boarded around 2, I believe. So we were able to get into our room and get our daughter down for a very quick nap. And then they were finally on board. And so we met them for lunch.
Well, let's stick with the staterooms then. What staterooms did you book and how did that work for your family?
We booked joined veranda staterooms. That was awesome. Our stateroom host put down the barrier between the 2 rooms. So we were able to enjoy a much larger balcony than we would normally have. The rooms, the area where our daughter's pack and play would have been was away from the door. So we were able to go back and forth between each other's rooms when she was napping or sleeping. And it worked out really well to have 2 rooms when you have a kid that needs to nap, because then you can go and watch TV or sit out on the balcony and not wake them up.
So you meet up with the rest of your family, get settled in the room. Walk us through kind of the rest of your embarkation day.
Sure. So we obviously did the muster drill. We were unfortunately outside for this one. That was our first time having an outside meeting spot for the muster drill, and it was hot and sunny and terrible, but we got through it and we went to the sail away party, which is always a really fun time. Yeah.
Before we move on from the muster drill, did you have your stroller?
We did not take the stroller. We just held her. We did bring a carrier and didn't end up using it a ton. So we were just kind of passing her back and forth to keep her happy.
The muster drill was over. Did you walk up 7 flights of stairs with her in your arms?
Probably. I maybe have blocked that out because it was quite a while ago that we went on the sailing. But yeah, we do a lot of stairs. So she's pretty petite. So it wasn't terrible to carry her upstairs.
Impressive. So did she like the sailaway party?
I'm not sure. She napped horribly on this cruise. So she was so tired at that point because she had only managed like a half-hour nap in the stateroom. So yeah, we enjoyed it. I'm not sure she did so much. Maybe if she had been better rested.
I mean, were you guys first seating or second seating?
We were first seating.
And so after the sailaway party, was it basically time to get ready for that?
Yeah, pretty much. And then our first dinner was at the Enchanted Garden.
And what'd you guys think of that?
It's beautiful in there, and having a fountain in there, which is super pretty. Like that was really fun for her to look at. So while we were waiting for food, we could walk her around the restaurant and let her touch the water. And yeah, that was really fun.
Is she at the age where she's just eating baby food at this point? Or did use some of DCL's food for her?
We did all regular foods. She was on pretty much, I mean, soft table foods, but she was on pretty much all table foods at that point. They did offer to do purees for us, but I wasn't super interested in that because she was doing table foods at home. So just wanted to keep with the normal things. Yeah. Yeah. So she ate a lot of mac and cheese, a lot of pasta. She loved it.
Oh, that's great.
Well, why don't we go ahead and stick with dining here and just give us a brief overview of your thoughts on the restaurants on the Dream and maybe some highlight meals or dishes as well.
Yeah, all of the restaurants on the Dream are beautiful. Dining was awesome. Our two servers were Davin and Lashy, and they were fantastic. They loved our daughters so much, which is always fun to see people interacting with your baby. I think honestly, the best meal we had was Marvel Day at Sea night. Yeah, so that night was also so that was day 2 of the cruise, and that was also an Enchanted Garden. They had a special menu for Marvel Day at Sea, and the dishes are kind of themed to different settings from Marvel movies. So like the appetizer I got was Wakanda from Black Panther, and there were, things from Sokovia and different areas where all the movies take place. That was my favorite dinner on the whole cruise. And possibly because I've had very similar dishes on the Magic, and I think they just maybe were a little bit better prepared on the Magic than they were, and maybe that's because it's first seating and it's, they're pushing out twice as many meals. And then actually my favorite dessert other than the Remy Dessert Experience was also at the Marvel Day at Sea. There was this pastry with raspberries and lime, and it was fantastic. So yeah, I would go back on a Marvel Day at Sea cruise just for the menu alone. It was delicious.
Any other thoughts from rotational dining?
Everything that the internet tells you is good. So if you do any research ahead of time for the menus at the different main rotational dining restaurants, everything that the internet says is good is good. The pasta purses, Animator's Palette are fantastic. All of the entrees that they say are good. So in this case, the internet does speak truth.
And then where did you find yourself eating most of your breakfasts and lunch?
Breakfast was typically at Cabanas. Our daughter was up super early, so it was nice to just get out of the room. Although my two sisters-in-law would typically order room service for breakfast. They really loved sitting out on the balcony and having their coffee. Lunches were sort of a mix of Cabanas and the pool deck.
Well, moving into the more fancy of your meals, you had a couple adult dining packages booked. Why don't you walk us through how those were?
Sure. So we booked Palo Brunch for the four of us adults. That was our first day at sea. And I think I had read somewhere online that the Marvel Day at Sea was going to be the second day at sea. And that the baby race would be on the Marvel Day at Sea day. So I booked Palo Brunch for the first day. And then we found out the baby race was going to be right after our brunch reservation. So that made it a little challenging, but the staff at Palo were fantastic. My husband came down with me to do the baby race, and then he was able to go back up and finish the brunch. They held everything for him, so they were just really accommodating of that. So that was awesome. The food at Palo Brunch is delicious. Even, before you even order anything, the bread basket is like some of the best breads you'll ever eat. Our server's name was Mariano. He was awesome. Yeah, it was a great time. So that was Palo Brunch.
And then your daughter would have gone to
the nursery. Yes.
And how did she do there?
She didn't love it. I think it was just a new experience because she's a daycare baby. So we thought she would do okay being around other babies and, not us. But I think it was just a new place. So unless she was napping, she was pretty unhappy. But the staff there were, the cast members there were awesome too. So they were troopers. When I know she was super upset, they didn't call us until it had been a really long time that she was unhappy. So they do the most to make sure that you can still enjoy your adult time.
Well, that's good at least.
Yeah.
And then you had some Remy experiences as well?
Yes. So I booked the Remy Dessert Experience. By the time I booked it, they only had one spot available. So I went by myself, but it was still really fun. And actually they thought my husband was going to come with me. So I think, they accommodate that as well. Even if they don't have a ton of spots, I don't think they want you to be by yourself, which was really nice. But my husband's not a dessert person, so he didn't come and I went by myself and had a great time. Yeah, some of the best desserts I've ever eaten. They do 6 small desserts and you can do a wine pairing, but I didn't splurge for the wine pairing.
Do you remember what it cost?
I believe it was $85 when I booked it.
Do they still do the lemon at the end?
Yeah, the citron.
Good things
Yeah.
about that lemon.
Yeah, it's amazing. I actually, one of my favorite Disney podcasts, The Main Street Dish, they talked about the citron, and I was like, well, I'm going to book the Remy experience simply to have this dessert because I like lemon a lot. So it's like a lemon mousse and a lime curd, and then they coat it in white chocolate, and it looks identical to a lemon, and it was fantastic. It was almost a little too tart for me, but it was still amazing. So if you like lemon at all, doing this dessert experience should be top of your list.
We need to tell Steve to do it, Lake.
I know. Love our friends at the Main Street Dish. Do you think that experience is something that you find repeatable? Like, would you book that exact same experience again?
I would. I believe that they do rotate out some of the desserts like seasonally, just based on what ingredients are freshest at the time. But one of the desserts I had on this, it wasn't the citron. It was like a pistachio and cherry cream puff. That's still the best thing I've ever eaten in my life. And I have tried multiple times to recreate that flavor combination at home since this cruise, and I just can't do it. So yeah, they're incredible desserts. So I would definitely book it again, even if it was the same 6 things.
Love it. Well, let's move on from dining and venture out into the dream. What activities did you and your family do while you were on board?
So we did a few different things. Mostly it was just a lot of relaxing because, you're traveling with an infant and you spend a lot of time at the pool. We really loved the splash pad. I think that's the most fun my daughter has ever had. So that was a Finding Nemo themed splash pad, and it's really beautiful. My husband and one of his sisters did a drink tasting. It was World of Old Fashions. Were old fashions made with different types of alcohol. So it wasn't like old fashions from different places in the world. It was just different types with different types of alcohol. So they really enjoyed that. And then my 2 sisters-in-law also did a mixology class, which that was really fun. I think they got 4 full drinks by the end of that class. So it's not for the weak at heart, but they did enjoy that. We did a few trivias, did not do well on them, but they're always fun. One of the fun things that we did on Marvel Day at Sea Day was there was a USO show, which is Captain America. And Captain America is my favorite. So that was my night to have my husband stay back on baby duty so that I could go to the show. And it was really cool.
The USO show might be one of my favorite pieces of entertainment that I've ever seen on DCL.
Yeah, it was so fun.
It was so good. Did you see any of the shows or anything on board?
So I didn't. I was typically on baby duty at night, but my husband and his sisters did go to Beauty and the Beast. That actually was one of the reasons why we prioritized the dream. That's my sister-in-law's favorite Disney movie is Beauty and the Beast. So being able to see that was really exciting for her.
Did that live up to her expectations?
I think it did. Yeah, she was pretty. It ended up also being the same night as their World of Marvel tasting, so they had to skip dinner so that they could go to the early show and then go to the tasting. But yeah, she really enjoyed it. And then my other sister-in-law went to the late showing, and she also really enjoyed it. So yeah, they loved being able to see that. And then actually, I was able to watch the Golden Mickeys on TV while my daughter was sleeping. So that one was really fun. I think that one would have been better in person for sure, but it was still really cute.
I love that you can watch the theater productions in the cabin if it's either a time where people need a break or you need to pack or whatever, you have a sleeping baby, whatever the case is. Rolling back for a second, how did your daughter do in the baby race?
She was so close to like all of the babies just sort of like froze when they were able to start. Yeah, it was so cute. They all just were looking around, not sure what to do. And I could tell she was just about to take off, but then the baby next to her did at that very moment. And he was super fast and he won. And then, she was in the second heat. And so he went up against the winner of the first heat and he ended up winning again. So he was the ultimate champion, but it was still really fun. I still have her sticker from her competition because I was like, well, we booked it solely so you could do this. So I'm going to hold on to that little piece of it.
They don't give bibs anymore?
No, it was just stickers. And maybe that was simply because it was a Marvel Day at Sea, because they also didn't call it the Jack. The Jack Dash Diaper Dash, I think is what they usually call it. It was the like Little Heroes race. So I don't know if for standard sailings, they would still do a bib.
Well, talking about the dream more in general, what spaces did you enjoy about the dream and where did you and your family spend the most time hanging out?
We spent a lot of time at the splash pad and a lot of time on the pool deck in general. And really, other than that, it was just walking around and enjoying it. We did a lot of time on the promenade, just keeping moving, which, that you have a baby, you just got to keep moving. So I don't think we spent more time in any one place than any other than Splash Pad, because she could have spent all day, every day there. Yeah, we spent a lot of time just walking around and enjoying all of the different views. And yeah.
You had mentioned your husband booked the sports simulator. Did he end up doing that?
He did. It didn't work super well. There were some glitches with and I don't know if maybe it would have worked better with a different sport, because I think you can choose from several different sports. And I think they tried he tried the football and it just didn't work super well. So I don't know if it would work better with golf, but when it was working, he had fun with that. It was a half-hour booking.
Interesting. I believe that golf just got removed from the ships, if I am not mistaken. But that is something that we don't talk about super often on the show. Well, let's go ahead and move back into Marvel Day at Sea and talk about some of the additional exclusive entertainment offerings that you were able to see with that.
Yeah. Most of what we did was characters. They had so many Marvel characters, and we really just watched them walk around. We didn't wait in line to see most of them, but they had, I truly cannot think of a Marvel character that they didn't have on the ship. So we just sort of sat and watched them parade back into the, behind scenes area. And it took like 20 minutes because they had every single Marvel character you could think of. Another fun thing they had was they had all of the Fab Five in Marvel costumes. So actually it would have been more than the Fab Five, because Chip and Dale were there too. So we did take a picture with Mickey and Minnie. They were Spider-Man and Black Widow. Or no, they were Captain America and Black Widow. So we took a picture with them. Yeah, it was really cute. And I guess Donald was Thor he was the Hulk, mixing things up. Donald was the Hulk because we took a picture with him later, and the cast member that was with him was talking about how much Donald enjoyed being the Hulk on Marvel Day at Sea. I know they had some other shows. We didn't see anything other than the USO show, but I know those were really popular.
What did you pre-book about your Marvel Day at Sea day?
We didn't have to pre-book anything. No.
Is Marvel Day at Sea something you would specifically seek out to book again on a Disney Cruise Line sailing?
I don't know that I would choose it over anything else, but if it were the right time, the right price, the right ship, I would definitely do it again. And like I said, that dinner was so fantastic that I would be excited to do it again, just to have the same Marvel Day at Sea dinner.
Love it. Well, then it is time to disembark and explore some islands. Your first stop is Cozumel. What did you have planned this day?
So my husband and I stayed on the ship for that one. We had been to Cozumel on our most recent cruise before that, and we wanted to just spend some time enjoying the adults only section. So we had booked a few hours for our daughter in the nursery so that we could enjoy the pool and Cove Cafe and just, relax a little bit. My sisters-in-law booked the X-Rail Adventure to Jade Cavern excursion, and they thought that was fantastic. They're on these little buggies, and they drive throughout rainforest type area, and then they went to Jade Cavern, which is like a cenote and really beautiful. A few people swam, but yeah, they came back very muddy and very happy. They enjoyed themselves.
Did they book that through Disney?
They did, yeah.
Awesome. Well, then moving into your second port stop, Castaway. Well, what were you looking forward to getting back to Castaway then?
I wanted to see how my daughter did with the beach. She'd been swimming before, but never in sand, only just in pools. So really looking forward to just spending time on the beach and seeing what kind of fun she had. Yeah, so we went to the family beach. The water was freezing. So it was February, just coming off of winter, super cold, but we still got in, and she didn't seem to recognize that it was freezing. She really enjoyed herself.
Did you rent a float, or you just carried her the whole time in there?
Yeah, we just carried her. Yep. Yeah, a float would have been a good idea, but we just carried her.
And then did she play in the sand?
She didn't know what to make of the sand. I was almost a little disappointed. So we had bought a little portable kiddie tent to sit her in so that she wouldn't wander off. And she sort of just played with it with her fingers and then wasn't super interested in it. So then we found the splash pad that's on the island and went there for a little bit. But there were a lot of older kids there, so it was a little bit hard to let her have as much fun as she did on the splash pad on the ship, because there was just a lot more commotion.
That makes it hard sometimes.
Yeah.
Did you do lunch on the island?
We did. Everything on the island is delicious. We had been sitting in that shelter area near the near the lunch spot just to get out of the sun for a little while and saw people starting to get ice cream. So we got our daughter ice cream because she discovered on this cruise that she really likes ice cream. And then lunch opened up and we had lunch there. And by that point, my daughter was falling asleep in the high chair. So we took her back to the boat. But my sisters-in-law stayed on the island for a little bit longer to enjoy the ocean.
What was their thoughts of Castaway?
They really enjoyed it. I think they would go back again for sure.
Any other thoughts about your sailing before we move into disembarkation and some of my final thoughts and questions?
I think having been on all three classes of ships at the time, I know people tend to talk about if they've been on the Wish first, then they really love the Wish. If they've been on the other ships first, then they really hate the Wish. And I definitely see how the Dream is better laid out than the Wish, but I would say I don't know that I could rank any of the ships as being like one over the other, but the Dream is really beautiful and it's laid out really well. So yeah, definitely validate all of the concerns that people have about how confusing it is to get around the Wish. The Dream is very easy to get around. Yeah, lots of really fun spaces for kids to just kind of crawl around and crawl in those portholes and look out. Yeah, so we really loved the Dream. I would definitely go back on the Dream if the itinerary was right.
Love it. Well, sadly, we have one more thing to discuss, disembarkation and getting back home. How was that process for you and your family?
Once again, Fort Lauderdale was the smoothest disembarkation I think I've ever experienced. We had early seating for breakfast, which of course is terrible when you have to get up super early to get to breakfast. But by the time we were finished eating, we only waited about 5-10 minutes and our luggage tags were called. So we disembarked. We all cried. It was terrible. We actually had trouble finding one of our suitcases, though. That was unusual. Usually they're all right together, but for some reason one of them was like on a complete opposite end of the luggage tag. So we spent about 15 minutes looking for our last suitcase. But other than that, very smooth process. And then we took another Uber back to the airport and it was very sad for a vacation to be over.
What time did you disembark and what time did you book your flight for?
Our flights were around 2. We were probably off the ship by 9:30. Did not realize that most airports, you can't check a bag more than 4 hours ahead of your flight. So we did have to sit in the pre-area for about an hour waiting for the ability to check our bags in. So that was poor planning on our parts. But we know that now and we'll never make that mistake again.
But there's not always a lot of choices like that. Unfortunately, Fort Lauderdale is so small and you don't want to go all the way to Miami where there is more flight times. So I feel like Fort Lauderdale has like a ton of 9:30 in the morning flights, which seems a little early.
Yeah, so maybe we should have just stayed on the ship for as long as we could have.
But I think 9:30 is the longest you could stay on a Disney ship. Yeah, so I don't think you're staying on past that. That's when they definitely pull out Minnie Mouse and all the other characters are like, get out now. And they're nice in their nice way.
Did your family utilize the photo package on the sailing?
We did not. We got some really good pictures, but we didn't end up buying any of them.
Did you have any notable cast interactions that you didn't already highlight?
Our servers were fantastic. Yeah, honestly, every cast interaction was notable, even if I didn't see their name. Like everyone just, the way the cast members on this ship loved children was just so evident. Like everyone was so happy to smile and interact with our daughter, and so quick to try to get us a high chair or get us whatever we needed. So they're definitely on the right cruise line because they all very clearly love children. So that was really wonderful. And our stateroom host, his name was Albertus, and he was also fantastic, working around baby's nap schedule and just making sure we had everything we needed. He was awesome.
Love it. What was the rest of your family's thoughts on kind of their first Disney sailing?
They really enjoyed themselves. I think some of the strict timelines that Disney has in terms of you have your dining and then the show is only available at 2 different times, but you really can only make one because you have your dining. They didn't love that. I think they're definitely more of, wanting to go with the flow when they're on that type of vacation, which I totally get. But I think they would definitely go on another one with us. We might just plan fewer things so that we can be sure to see all of the shows and enjoy all of the dinners.
Well then, Kelly, what is next for you and your family?
Yeah, so I am going to Disney World in a month with my mom, trying to recreate some some of that magic from our 2020 trip. It'll be just a short 4 days in Disney World, but we'll hit a couple parks and just relax. And I'm not taking toddler with me, so I'm excited to have a little time away. And then in May, my husband and I are going on a 3-night cruise on Royal Caribbean with his extended family. I'm excited to give Royal Caribbean a try, although I don't think a 3-night is long enough to actually be a good comparison. I don't like to book cruises shorter than 4 days, but this is the cruise that worked for his extended family. So his sisters will be on that one too. So we'll see how it compares to Disney for them.
Love it. Well, Kelly, thank you so much for coming on and sharing you and your family's experience on the Disney Dream.
Yes, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Christy, where can our listeners follow you?
You can find me all over the internet at Pack Your Pixie Dust. And Lake has made a work with me link in the show notes. So if you would like to have me help you plan a future Disney cruise, I would love to do that. And you can find that link in the show notes. Lake, where can we find you?
You can find me on Instagram and YouTube at MouseGen, and you can follow the podcast on dclpodcast.com or on Instagram and Facebook at DCL Podcast. But that is going to do it for this episode. Thank you all so much for listening, and we will see you next time on the DCL Podcast. Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Well, that's going to wrap up our show. Once again, we want to thank Kelly for coming on and sharing her family's experience on the Disney Dream. If you're enjoying the show, we greatly appreciate you leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. We would also like to thank our Patreons who help make this show happen each and every week for us. You too can help support the show by visiting us at patreon.com/DCL Podcast. Whether you're boarding a cruise, enjoying a trip to the parks, or adventuring outside of Disney, on behalf of myself, Christy, and Steve, we want to wish you smooth sailing and safe travels. And we'll see you next time on the DCL Podcast.
The DCL Podcast is not affiliated with the Disney Cruise Line, Walt Disney Company, Adventures by Disney, or Run Disney. All of the opinions expressed on our shows are those of the hosts and the guests who appear on the show. If you have any questions about any of these products, please contact the Walt Disney Company.